to Now Showing with your host John, one half of the Now Showing guys. And I want to take just a quick second to give you guys a little update. We will be starting a new style of videos. We're going to do more of a podcast, something you can kind of just throw on in the car while you're driving, while you're cleaning. Just kind of have just be able to listen to it, not have video to it. And our first one should be out in a couple days after I get these videos that I shot tonight edited and put out, and then we're going to kind of do some of those and kind of get a feel for that. We're just trying a few different things. Like I said, we're trying to iron out the channel, what exactly we want to do, what kind of content we want to kind of focus on, that sort of thing. So any input that you have, leave it in the comments. What do you like to see? What do you think we should kind of work on? Any input would be greatly appreciated. But back to today's video, that's going to be the top 5 animal attack movies. And for this, I kind of wanted to stay traditional to actual animals, and kind of get away from mutated type animals. Now, I do have a couple on here that are kind of overly sized animals, but I wanted to say to the animal stays to true form, and they're not mutated. They might just be, for instance, one of the honorable mentions I'll just talk about right now is Black Sheep, 2006, where you had killer sheep. Also, another kind of honorable mention, Them, from 1954, we had giant radioactive ants. I kind of that for this list that counted because they weren't drastically mutated. They were just gigantic. So I mean, that's kind of what I was focusing on when I made this list. It's animal attacks where the animal kind of stays true to what it is. Either whether it's rabid, just crazy, some kind of virus, or it's just that's what the animal's natural instinct is to do, and the person's just kind of in that situation, kind of like in The Grey, whenever Liam Neeson's character crashes a plane and he has to basically survive the wolves and stuff. That's really what I was kind of looking at. So before I get into my actual top 5, a couple quick honorable mentions that I want to go through. Crawl, which came out in 2019, which is an alligator movie, I thought was really good. A lot of people kind of shit on it, but to me, I went into it knowing that it's not going to be some kind of how do I want to put it? It wasn't going to be an Oscar-worthy movie. It was going to be just a brutal alligator trying to kill people kind of movie. And I thought the effects were good, the suspense was good, the deaths were good, all around. I just thought it was a fun movie to watch. You just have to go into it knowing what you're going in to watch. You're not going in to watch Shawshank Redemption. You're going in to watch Crawl, a movie about killer alligators. So, next, 47 Meters Down, the first one. Second one, wasn't bad, but it really wasn't that good either. One of the other videos we recently did was Worst Horror Movie Endings. The ending to that one could easily make that list also. But the first one, a lot of people would even say that the ending to this one also could, but I don't want to spoil anything, but I do recommend watching it because I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was more realistic to an extent. It wasn't now, don't get me wrong, I love Deep Blue Sea, but you kind of had the genetically modified. It kind of was true to how the sharks would act to an extent. So I mean, for that and that reason alone, I thought it was a good movie. It built the suspense, and for me, I would recommend watching it. So I also want to talk about a couple other ones that I want to mention. Razorback, A Killer Born Australia. It's an amazing Australian film. If you've never seen it, I do recommend watching that one. Another one that just kind of helps, it just builds that suspense, that dread, and what I love about animal attack movies is the realism behind them. You could actually see yourself in that position, and it also kind of plays on that humans have this ego or this attitude that we're the top apex predator, but if you really think about it, we're really not. Yeah, we might be the most advanced and that sort of thing, but when it really comes down to it, we're not the strongest without like the help of guns, technology, that kind of thing. But in a primal, just animalistic sense, we're really not the apex predator, and it kind of plays on that whole thing that like at any given time we can be put into a situation where we're not that like top of the food chain predator. So, uh, and then the other one that I do want to mention, because there are a lot of movies about monkeys. You can kind of talk about King Kong, like the original movie about killer monkeys. But I wanted to shine light on one that kind of hasn't gotten a lot of love, but it is considered like a cult classic, and that is George A. Romero's Monkey Shines. Came out in 1988, about a helper monkey that is a man with a disability gets a helper monkey, and that helper monkey starts to act crazy, trying to kill him. And just once again, like where even like the other side of animal attack movies, like the pets that we have, can end up turning on us, and just the dread of that. So now let's get into my actual list. The first one I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on because I have talked about it before. It's my guilty pleasure, one of my all-time favorite movies, even though that it's god awful, even though it stars a scream queen in Janet Leigh, and that is, I have the poster right there, Night of the Lepus. I love this movie. It's about giant killer rabbits, and it's just incredible. It's so cheesy, so over the top, just so far fetched, but like there's just something about this movie that I just love. I saw it years and years ago, kind of forgot about it, recently found it, and just fell back in love with it. And I can't say enough like how much I love this movie. Cam, the other half of Now Showing, always laughs at me because I love this movie so much. But like I said, I've talked about it before. I just wanted to mention it. I couldn't do animal attack movies without mentioning it again, but I'm not going to go into like a long-winded speech about everything I love about it. If you've never seen it, do yourself a favor. Have an open mind. Go into it that you just want to have fun, watch a movie, because it is by far nowhere even close to like Space Jam, let alone a Shawshank Redemption movie. So number 4, this one is a bit of a stretch, but I want to say my number 4 is Jurassic Park. Um, Came out in 1993, and yes, it is dinosaurs, but dinosaurs technically were around, and just the fact of like bringing them to the present day, how they would interact, how they would hunt, and what would happen if they were let loose on humans. I just thought they did a really good job at this movie. Obviously, I mean Steven Spielberg, like a legendary director, but this movie just did so many things so good, from like the smallest little detail that when they're sitting in the Jeep and you see the water start to like vibrate, you see the ripples in it, knowing the T-Rex is coming, how the velociraptors, how they looked. I mean, it was revolutionary. It was one of the first times that you kind of got to see what CGI could do. Now granted, they've went overboard with the CGI and got away from like true practical effects, and this movie kind of used both, and created a beautiful movie. The suspense, the terror, the feelings, like just all around an amazing movie. And I felt that it falls under Animal Attack because dinosaurs did exist. Like granted, they were it's a stretch because it was scientists did some DNA and they genetically like brought back the dinosaurs. But all in all, like I say it works. It's my video, my list. So number 4, Jurassic Park. So now we're gonna get into more traditional animal attack movies. So number 3, can you imagine if your beloved pet dog, or just like the neighbor dog, if you got attacked by a dog, how petrifying, and on top of that, all the other things, your kid's having a seizure, it's hot, you're trapped, like you're tired. If you haven't figured out what I'm talking about for number 3, then you've obviously never seen Cujo. Stephen King adapted movie, and just like talk about like an animal attack movie that like hits home for a lot of people. I mean, I have two dogs, and like, granted, they're not Saint Bernards and they're not that big, but I mean, I couldn't imagine if like they just like ended up becoming rabid or just attacked me, like, or attacked like someone I loved, or like I couldn't imagine like trying to save a loved one from like any of these, really. Like, can you imagine? Like, that's what I love about these is, like I said before, the realism. Like, you can put yourself in a lot of these situations. Maybe not Jurassic Park, but like Cujo, you could definitely put yourself in this situation. Like, it's so real. It's not like over the top, like mutated dog. It's literally a regular Saint Bernard. Granted, Saint Bernards are huge, but still, it's a regular animal. It's a regular like pet. It's not like it's like a tiger like in the woods. Like, it's something that you could run into any day walking down the street. Like, I mean, and like that's why I think Cujo is just such a good movie. And the portrayal of I can't remember the actress's name, but her performance in it just like sends shivers down your spine. Like, you can just feel for her like in that movie. And just a fun little fact, like when they were filming the movie, they had to tie down the dog's tails because they were just having fun. They would throw like toys into the car, and they thought they were just playing. So to kind of make it look realistic, and you didn't see the tail wagging like it's having a blast, they tied it down. So none of the dogs were harmed in it, and also they had animatronics. They also had a man dressed up like a Saint Bernard for some of the scenes, so it wasn't just like actual Saint Bernards. But my number three, Cujo. Number two is going to kind of be a little controversial because number one and number two, they on a lot of people's lists they can be swapped, but for me, my number two is one of the original like putting animal attack movies on the map, and that is 1963 The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock. um, just the cinematography of this movie, the way it was shot. It's also one of the first movies to use storyboards, so he actually planned out how the movie would look, so it wasn't like accidental like shots. Everything was planned, and there was a lot of like social commentary to this movie. All around, just an amazing, and it's one of those once again like you can put yourself in this. What if birds just decided to start attacking? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been walking like past a pond and a goose flies at you because they're shitty birds because they're always mad. But I mean, think about like just like you driving down the street and you just see like these huge like flocks of birds and stuff. Like, what if they just started dive bombing you? What would you do? I mean, that's what makes an animal attack movie so good. You can put yourself, I'm gonna say it again, I've said it a couple times now, you can put yourself in that. So number one, like I said, could be flip flop with number two, The Birds. But my number one, no other animal attack movie has had such an impact on society, on me, on vacations, the beach, as my number one. And that is obviously Jaws. I mean, come on. It was the first summer blockbuster. It's the movie that, like, still to this day, you go to the beach, you can hear the theme song to Jaws play. It's the movie that you think about, like, when you're swimming in the water and, like, you're having a good time. I don't care who you are, in the back of your mind, at least once on your vacation, you think of that movie. It's a movie that almost, like, wiped out the entire great white shark population because people were so scared. Like, people were afraid to go swimming because of this movie. And I don't care what anyone says. Bruce, or the great white shark in the movie, a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't hold up, the effects look stupid. Like, look at the great white sharks from 47 meters down uncaged. The second 47 meters down. I will take the shark from Jaws over that any day. I don't think it looked bad at all. I thought it looked incredible. Like, granted, you don't see it that often, and I think that's what adds to it. It gives you that suspense because you don't know when it's going to come. It's not like you see it every, like, couple minutes or every few, like, scenes. Here it is again. Like, it builds up that, like, suspense, that unknowing, like, being at the beach. Like, that's what makes swimming in the ocean after watching this movie so scary, because you don't know. Like, you could swim your entire life, never get bit by a shark. You could go one time, and next thing you know, you've lost a leg, or you're dead, for God's sake. I mean, like, Jaws really just has so many good things, and like a lot of these movies I've mentioned, they're not great movies. They're not like Oscar worthy movies. Jaws, by all means, is a cinematic masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Like, scary, suspenseful, heartfelt, dramatic. The score, the cinematography, the effects, the story, everything. 10 out of 10. And, like, that's why, for me, it's my number one. The Birds kind of set everything in motion, a good suspenseful story, but it just didn't have that like impact that Jaws did. Like, and for that reason alone, Jaws has to be number one. Do you agree with me? What are some movies that you think of? Because I mean, I have some other ones. I mean, you have Willard, you have Snakes on the Plane, Anaconda, The Grizzly, Razorback. There's all kinds of other ones. Like, this is one of those genres that just like you can go on and there's 1,000 like straight to DVD, quick made movies that just aren't really that great, but that just keep getting pushed out and pushed out. But there are some really really good ones, like Lake Placid. I could have put on here, but I went with Crawl instead. I like Crawl over Lake Placid. I mean, you have I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that could technically fall under this that were actually really good, but just didn't quite make it for me. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna like sit here and just keep him hawing around. Like, what do you think was the greatest animal attack movie? What do you think? Like, do you agree with me that Jurassic Park should have made the list, or do you think that was a little bit too far of a stretch? Leave it in the comments what you think, what you want to see, and stay tuned. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share it out to your friends. Help us grow this channel, please. We are trying to make this channel for you. We want to know what you want. Because, I mean, we can sit here and talk about everything that we love. We want to know what you love. We want to make this for you. We want you to, like, pick our brains. Because, like I said, we're giant geeks. We know a lot about a lot of different things. Not just horror movies, like I've said, video games. We're going to be doing a podcast, like I said, the first one. I believe we're going to do two. We're going to do one about the history of Call of Duty, and then kind of lead that into our anticipation of the upcoming Call of Duty, and then we're kind of throwing around what we want to do for actual, like, the horror aspect of our podcast. So I mean, if you want us to like talk about superheroes, Dungeons and Dragons, you name it, just let us know. Until next time, have a good one and stay spooky.